This is the Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this next episode of Interview with a Lockpicker. Today's guest is Joe Pix. Say hi, Joe.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
So, how exactly did you get into locksport?
So, back in, I believe, 2019, I was hanging out at my very best friend's house. I think he was still in bed, and I was up having coffee, waiting for him to get up. And he had sent me a link to a YouTube video of the lockpicking lawyer and one of his April Fool's Day. I think it was, excuse me, his wife's beaver. And, well, obviously being entertained, I continued to watch some videos and that sort of led into more of the other prominent YouTubers, Bosnian Bill, Lock Noob, and that really sparked my interest.
Okay, so when when did you get started again?
2019 is when I really got interested in. I had bought my first kit sometime around then. I had been watching loads of Bosnian Bill videos, like I couldn't tell you how many I've seen, and he talked about a really affordable Southord set. I believe it was the PSX 14,
Yeah.
and so I picked that up, and I had a couple of Brinks padlocks that I owned just from my shed and gates and such, and um, sort of I picked it open a couple times, and then kind of lost interest for a while, and sort of into COVID in around 2021, I really got involved. I had discovered sparrows. Um, I don't remember if that was through Bosnian Bill or Lockpicking Lawyer, but I had heard the name sparrows and decided to look into those. And I ordered a tuxedo kit. And um, yeah, I started buying locks. And I found the lockpicking subreddit. And once I found that, I found the belt system that they do, which gave me a sort of like a tier system to rate the locks that I should be picking in order by difficulty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And uh, yeah, and um, I had gotten an American 1100, and for the life of me could not get anywhere with it. And I found a video by Chris Capoon that he talked about his technique and his approach, and I think within like 2 hours I got it open, and it just snowballed out of control from there.
Gotcha. So, what belt did you get to?
I'm currently a brown belt.
Okay. Well, that was a fun trip.
It's been incredibly rewarding, like the confidence that I've gained in picking and the support from the community. Like when you achieve these milestones, it's really been an incredible experience for me.
So, going back a second, you mentioned about your pick sets you had started out with. At some point, you told me you had gone and purchased a custom pick set.
Yeah, so this would have been, was it the beginning of this year? I think it was the beginning of this year. I ordered from a channel called The Butcher's Block. He is Australian, has a great channel. He hasn't posted in a while, but did send a package recently to Thumper Lockpicking. So I assume he's doing okay. But he had made some really interesting, a very, they had a very distinct style. All the ones I had seen, I think Chris Capoon had ordered some and had received them, and I had checked out some other channels that had them as well. So I ordered a pair from him, and I absolutely love them. They are constructed of bare bones pick blanks and Australian Jarrahwood, and just phenomenal craftsmanship.
So, did obtaining that custom set kind of set you on pace to get into your own pick making?
It really sparked my interest because I was looking at his craftsmanship and the work that went into it because he had sent me some pictures along the way. Um, and I hadn't thought of this in our first conversation, but Lockpicking Dev did an entire series on making custom picks,
Yes, you did. Good
and
series too.
absolutely. So that really got me into like, well, now I kind of know some of the equipment I should be looking at and some of the supplies that I would need. And I tried to make one, and I still have the blank. It's absolutely atrocious. Um, and I kind of put it down for a while, and I can't remember what really sparked it. I had been looking at a lot of stuff on Instagram from a fella. His channel is called Lambda 2 Labs. He's based out of Italy, and he had given me some advice, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try again. And I just started making picks. The I still have my first and second one, and yeah, I really haven't turned back. I've probably made 40 picks now.
Okay. Were there any other influencers that kind of got you to where you are today with how you're making your picks?
Oh, absolutely. The very first custom pick maker I ever heard of was Rat Yoke, and you just
Hmm.
did an interview with him,
Yep.
which is phenomenal. Love hearing from him. I mean, he's a jeweler and just such a talented individual. And
Very much
I had
so.
a, yeah, and I had an artistic background, and so I started sketching some stuff up, and definitely influenced by him and influenced by Lambda 2, influences, anywhere, really anywhere, anyone that's made picks. I'm like, oh, I like that idea and this idea. And, looking at, combining shapes and ideas and incorporating ergonomics. And yeah, it's been an absolute blast.
So, how does because you we talked about this, how does your creative design process come into play?
So generally, I show the prospective buyer some ideas. Like these are things I've made in the past. These are things I haven't made yet. Like, what do you like as far as do you like the sweeping curves or do you like something more simplistic? And we just kind of go back and forth, and then they give me some ideas, and I pitch some ideas as well, and then I just start sketching. I use French curve stencils and
Yep.
compass and protractor and all
Yep.
the usual things, straight edges, and um, I usually do that on a grid, and then I transfer that onto tracing paper, and then I'm able to. I actually just use masking tape, regular, beige masking tape to transfer that onto not only the pick blade, but also onto the wood itself. You're able to, it sticks on really, really well. You're able to shape the metal and you're able to shape the wood.
Okay. We need to talk more about getting into vinyl.
I haven't. I mean, I have a Cricut maker. I make things with the vinyl, and as is my wife. But I actually haven't used vinyl to transfer. I find that I guess I'm just a hands-on, using a ruler
Hmm.
and a caliper and hand tools to design my picks.
Okay. Well, okay. You can. I mean, you can do all of that, and then transfer that to the Cricut Maker and all that.
Hmm.
And then essentially then print. What I had considered doing was printing out the negative template, and then are you familiar with that bluing?
Yes.
Yeah, putting that and essentially painting the metal with that so that it stays on the metal while you're working with it and
Hmm.
cutting it and all that. So I was going to give that a try. Um,
Yeah, I was looking into blue steel and red steel as well. I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
okay. So you mentioned something about 3D printing for lockpicking. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, before I was really involved in lockpicking, I was gifted a 3D printer, and
Nice.
um, yeah, so I started using my 3D printer in tandem with locksport pretty much immediately. It's like, well, I need to get plug followers. Can I find them? I need pinning trays. Can I find them? And as you'd have it on the Thingiverse website, Bozzy and Bill actually has a page there, and um, I found it through his channel. He had mentioned having some designs, and um, yeah, so he has several pinning trays that you can print, and which now there's, I mean, countless dozens from different lock sporters and different people who have made their own. So I mean, really, you could just pick anything you like. But yeah, I found some stuff from him, and I printed those and printed the plug followers, and I've designed my own sort of. It's a pinning tray that is a lid. You pull the lid out, and it's a large box that you can
Cool.
organize pins and springs and tools and such. And
Very cool.
I've done designed pick stands and tool holders and things of that nature.
Cool. Yeah, I'm still fighting that one with the wife about getting a 3D printer. It was a lot easier to
It's
sell the Cricut than it was to 3D printer, but hey, I'm
you know,
working
my
on it
wife
still.
actually my wife actually does some of the 3D printing as well, and it's such a handy device to have around the household. I mean, everything from toilet seat washers to shelf brackets. Like, I mean, if you're like, man, I could really just need to replace this one little piece, and
Yeah.
if you have basic knowledge of designing, and I use a website called Tinkercad, and it's just additive and subtractive creating. So positive and negative shapes, something
Hmm.
that would take a block and then you can use a negative shape to remove a piece of it, and things like that. And I mean, you can create some really complicated and really useful things with that.
Well, I think the biggest challenge I have isn't so much what you can or can't do with it. I think she sees the value in that. It's we have a pretty well established shop, and her office got turned into a craft room already with the Cricut. So the question that I get hit with is, and where are we gonna put that?
Yeah, I had to custom. I actually just built a table. In fact, where I film my YouTube videos is about not quite 50% of the table, and just out of frame are two 3D printers, and I have a third one off to my right.
Yay, another person who builds his own furniture.
If you could call it that, it is level, it's sturdy. I wouldn't necessarily call it furniture.
Yeah, I'll send you a video and some pictures of the work table that was put together. I don't know, I guess it was 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
Sounds
Uh,
great.
but no problem. So, can you talk a little bit about how you got started with your channel and how your channel has grown from your perspective?
Absolutely. So it started out, I was posting videos directly to Reddit, just through their platform,
Yep.
and I saw a lot of people were using YouTube, and I had never tried it, so I my very first one was picking my American 1100 that I spoke about, and I uploaded it from my phone. I remembered it taking absolutely forever, but when it was finally up, I posted it on Reddit, and I got a hit right away from Thumper Lockpicking. Very first subscriber, very first commenter, and it just sort of grew from there. I just kept making videos, and at first, I think the first two or three, I didn't even speak, and then I talked with some friends and talked with my wife and pitched a few ideas, and
Well,
you know
you're up to 170 something videos, so you're doing pretty well, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've got an unbelievable amount of subscribers, in my opinion. The following that I've obtained, which, a lot of the people that watch my videos are people who have channels themselves. So it's this really wonderful give and take and ebb and flow of content.
Yeah.
They see my stuff, I watch their stuff. I
Yep.
mean, that's how I discovered you. Yeah, it's been honestly, as far as if you could even call it a hobby now, I mean, it's more than just a hobby in my opinion, because I've made so many friends and interesting people and wonderful connections, and yeah, it's definitely been a very very cool thing in my life, as
So,
far as I'm concerned, having this little channel and you know,
you got any special
meeting all the
plans
people I met.
on where you're going to take your channel from here?
Well, lately I have been doing a lot of product reviews. Um,
Yep.
so there's a company called lockpickmall.com,
Oh
and
yeah.
um, I I've there's been some pros and cons with, I don't want to say a whole lot, but um, I know a person who had a really bad customer experience with them,
Yeah.
but I also know that a lot of the products that they do drive are not the best. Definitely more introductory or
Yeah.
beginner level
Definitely.
products.
Definitely.
And I'm very forthright when I say, yes, you can use this, but it will need, you need to take these steps in order to make it more usable, and etc. This round I have another video coming out Tuesday, and the next 3 Tuesdays we'll each have a different product review. And I've actually been pretty impressed with these three, or with three of the four, I should say. One of them, not so much, but I'm surprisingly impressed with some of the stuff that's come out of this place. But it's some of the familiar brands like Honest Dongshi and
Yep.
Huck, and um, you know, Klom is another popular. I mean, they make solid tools, but they have I wouldn't say a bad reputation, but it's Chinese. It's not American made. It's not Canadian made. They're made in
Yeah.
a factory somewhere in China.
Uh,
But some of these tools are remarkably functional.
well, sometimes I think it comes down to what batch of them you happen to get one from. I think they have good batches and bad batches, like almost a lot of other manufacturing processes that perhaps maybe don't have um, an aggressive quality assurance aspect to them. They're just trying to
Mm,
crank out stuff. So I think sometimes you get good stuff, and sometimes you get stuff that if I had bought the same set at two different times, wind up with two different sets of tools based on just
yeah.
the finish maybe on it, or like I'm researching doing an entire review on a whole bunch of different dimple lock picks sets,
Hmm.
and Honest is on there, Huck is on there, and honestly, I've heard a lot of bad things about Huck, but the set I got um, really doesn't look like it needs a whole ton of work. I mean, it could use some sanding and polishing, like anything can typically,
Yeah.
but it was pretty decent. But the Honest set, no, it was definitely, and like I said, it could have just been a different batch.
Right. Yeah. The first set of dimple picks that I ever bought was the Huck set, and I did a little bit of hand filing uh, on some of the profiles, but I mean, it got me up to brown belt.
Yep.
I was able to open my first purple belt lock and a a brown belt dimple lock. I have no complaints with them. I mean, you're paying $40 for a set of eight and a couple of Z bars and
Yep.
a little case.
Yep.
Um, but you're definitely not getting what you pay for if you were to get the set of multi pick flags.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I like them. I like multi picks. But the you can definitely do pretty well a lot cheaper. So
Oh, for sure, for sure.
um, anyway, so another topic that I know is near and dear to your heart: challenge locks. Tell us a
All
little bit
right.
about how you feel about challenge locks.
All right. So, I remember back when I made my very first challenge lock, and it was a really cool experience because, it went to a couple places in the States. It went to Germany, it went to Australia, came back to the States. So, yeah, my first challenge lock, which it is retired, it came back to me. I have it in a little 3D printed box that a good buddy of mine, Locked Out Freediver 72, designed and printed just for it. And I started receiving challenge locks pretty early on, and at one point, started receiving a lot of challenge locks, more than I could really handle, and it got to a point where I I won't say I lost interest, but I've picked some really fun ones. I've picked some really challenging ones. I've picked many that are they're pretty easy, but really as long as you give me some good counter rotation, I'm probably gonna have fun with it. But I'm currently working on one that was a gift to me. I won a giveaway from Lance Spikey, and he made me a challenge lock. I actually, before our interview, I'd probably spent another 30 minutes on it. And if I had hair to pull out, I would pull it out. I'm, yeah, I am absolutely like, I feel like I make it somewhere, and then it's just, I hit a
Yeah,
wall.
yeah,
But yeah, like I said, he's a really, really talented challenge lock maker, and um, I can't wait till I do finally get it open. I mean, he's the kind of person that makes challenge locks that are so hard that they're not fun until you get them open.
yeah, yeah.
And,
I
but yeah,
I can't say I've had a lot of experience. I have not received a lot of challenge locks. I did do a video on one, And
Hmm.
I put up there, hey, send me a challenge lock and I'll pick it, on video. But anyways, as I understand it, there's a few that are coming my way. I'm looking forward to that because I haven't had a lot of opportunity to pick those just yet. So
I'll tell you what, I have a couple that are my own personal challenge locks that when I do finally get them open, I'll lend them to you. I have one from Jay Gabriel, who you've interviewed. Um,
he's one of the ones
yeah.
sending me a bunch of stuff.
Well, he made one just for me. It's called A Touch of Madness, and maddening it is. It is it is a very difficult lock, and it's not even like a very assuming keyway, and it's just he and Land Spy Key. Um, there are a few makers out there like DMAC is one of them, and Lan and Jay Gabriel. They do these really crazy. They'll do pin and pin. They'll do what's called a catastrophe pin. Um, Harry Bow is another one. I picked one of his that had magnets in it, and uh, you know, getting that open was wild. But they'll do these like piston pins where there's an actuating joint in the center of the pin, and
Yep.
they do some really impressive work at such a small scale.
Yeah.
And that one,
Well, I was going to say DMAC has some really good videos on making those.
yeah, absolutely. I love his channel.
Yeah, I
Um,
learned how to make rattlesnake pins from him, and then checked on his piston one and want to play with trying to learn how to make those too. So
yeah, I actually picked one that by Lance Spikey that had a piston pin in it, and it gives such interesting feedback and the way that it works. You can definitely tell once you've picked it and seen what's in it. You can definitely tell where that interaction was in the lock. But yeah, I think the main joy in getting these open is just once you have it open is the gutting when you take it apart and look at all
yep,
the work that went into it. For me, I think that's what's really special about challenge locks, but they can be just mind-numbingly frustrating.
yeah. All right, so I have one last question I'd like to ask. Is what do you do for a living?
So I am the inventory manager for a bourbon barrel stave mill. And so what we do is we source the white oak, we saw it, cut it into staves and heading, and then we air dry and then kiln dry and then ship that to a couple of what's called cooperages. So we have our primary cooperage that we supply and a new cooperage that's built in the same town that is starting their production this year. And I keep track of all the logs coming in, everything being used and produced, and I do all of the reporting for that as well.
Oh wow. So, is there anything you'd like to say to our audience before we sign off?
I mean, just thank you all so much for watching. Everybody who participates in our wonderful community. I mean, everybody that is involved is what makes it as special as it is.
Definitely.
So,
I
absolutely happy to be a part of it and um, really fortunate and grateful.
I couldn't agree more. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. I want to thank you for this interview. This has been fun. It's been fun also being able to talk to you and get to know you. Um, if you are a subscriber, thank you. We hope you enjoyed the content from this video today. If you are not a subscriber yet, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications all, and give us a like. And you can look forward to the next episode. Thank you for watching.